Why are all the matchas today so bitter? Ooh, I'm getting like a headache. I mean, this color, she's so beautiful. Hello, wonderful human beings. Welcome back to another matcha taste test episode. I think this is episode, I'm not sure, but I'm really excited because we have some brands today that I'm meaning to try for a while. We do have a very long running list and I try to space it out because one, it's a lot of matcha that we're purchasing, and two, a lot of the times the matcha isn't that great and I have to like find people to give it away to or ways to use it so I'm not just like throwing it out. But today we're gonna be reviewing 5 different matchas. We have Kramoda matcha, Rocky's matcha, Cymbiotika, Itoen, and matcha from Navitas. So if you have one that you wanna see in a future video or maybe one that you're curious about, make sure you check out the first few episodes and the rest you can request in the comments below or on TikTok. As a reminder, in this video, I will not be covering prep, but if you are new to matcha, make sure you check out my free matcha guide in the description box below. Download it. It has everything you need to know about matcha, especially how to make the perfect matcha latte, health benefits, literally anything that you could wonder about matcha, I've probably written about in the guide, and it's free. So I'll put that below. We're ranking it today based on price, value for money, color, taste, and we'll be trying it both on its own and then added to a latte the way I normally would drink it. Of course, this is all my opinion, so everybody has a different taste preference. Just because I'm not a fan of something today doesn't mean it's not good, and everybody also has different things that they look for in a matcha, whether it's price, accessibility, or quality. So with that said, let's get into the taste test. The first matcha of the day is from Itoen, and I actually really love this brand. I purchase green tea from them all the time. They are super well known in Japan, and of course, you know, I love supporting Japanese-owned businesses, but I will say that I think the focus of their matcha is more accessibility more than anything, and it is a culinary grade matcha. Actually, is that true? Normally, when you don't see ceremonial grade written out on the label, you can assume that it's culinary grade. Usually, the biggest difference is first harvest versus later harvests in the year. Price for this is $12, and that comes down to 21 cents per gram. That being said, I am really surprised by the color because it actually looks really good to me. It's a beautiful dark green color, better than like the Trader Joe's color and a lot of other brands that we've tried that are more budget, like Costco, for example. The smell is not too fragrant. I don't really smell much at all, but like I said, the color looks great, so let's give it a try. It's definitely got a pretty strong bitter taste right up front, and it does taste a little bit more like green tea. And when I say that, I mean more like a brewed green tea versus like a snappy, grassy matcha, which is a little bit brighter in flavor. But it's very smooth, there's no grittiness, and it's actually bold enough where I feel like if you were to use it in a recipe, it would taste really good. So I don't normally recommend anything other than ceremonial grade, but this would be my go-to if I had to pick one that wasn't. And I'm really, really impressed, especially with the color. Yeah, I'm shocked. Let's try it with milk. Honestly, this color is really surprising. Oop. Here we go. It's pretty nice. Surprisingly, for how bold and strong and kind of bitter I feel like the flavor is, it kind of disappears when you add the milk, and I don't really taste it very much, and I actually did use quite a bit of the matcha, so I think the flavor is not as bold as it could be, but this isn't bad at all. It would be great maybe like Americano or used as a shaved ice topping or something, but it's not terrible. Would I buy it again? I don't really know, but I would happily drink it again if I had to. It's much better than a lot of the options out there. Better than Starbucks, better than Costco, better than Trader Joe's maybe. Not bad. Next, we have the Navitas matcha. I'm gonna tell you right now, the color doesn't look so great. When we were sifting this one, I wasn't all that excited about it, but honestly, this is not really a matcha that I would gravitate towards because it says plant-based superfood on it, so I feel like this is selling it from more of the angle of it being a supplement. Also says premium grade, so it's not a ceremonial grade of matcha. The color of the matcha, even on the bag, is not so great, but at least they're not false advertising, so I really appreciate that. At the back, you can see it says certified organic matcha leaf powder, premium culinary grade. So we already know this is culinary going in. What's nice about this one is that they are certified B Corp. I mean, I do love Navitas. I buy their cacao powder and other supplements and superfoods, but matcha is something that I feel like you shouldn't necessarily buy as a superfood per se. This one is $22, which comes out to 26 cents per gram of matcha. You get quite a big amount too, actually. This is a pretty big serving of matcha in this resealable bag, which isn't always my favorite, but let's give it a shot. First, we'll do the smell test. It has a smell I don't really love. I don't really know what that is. It's almost kind of sour smelling, and it has, I don't know if it shows up on camera, but a brownish yellow kind of tint versus like a true vibrant green, but let's try on its own. Whoa. Holy shit, that's bitter, like right away. A lot of times these matchas will have like a bitter aftertaste. This one just hits you right away. Damn. Okay. Interestingly, this tastes like a very bitter sencha or something. We're gonna try it with some milk now. Hopefully it's showing on camera, but it's definitely got a bit of a more yellow leaning tint. It's not the worst color I've ever seen, I'll say that. There have definitely been worse that we've tried in this series. And I'm hearing from the production side that it's not looking good on camera either. So hopefully you guys will be able to tell. It's really hard sometimes to like get the true color to show on camera. This honestly tastes like bitter milk. It has that characteristic where the flavor of the matcha kind of disappears. And so all you're left with is that crazy bitter aftertaste. Actually, it's not even an aftertaste. It's like the taste, period. Whoa, that is crazy bitter. The thing is about this matcha is that even if I were to think of it as a superfood, I think this would be kind of hard to throw into like a smoothie or something because the flavor is quite overpowering and not in a great way. Even though it is organic, it doesn't necessarily mean it's good. And we can have a whole conversation separately about why organic is not always the best. I have more about that in my ebook, but this one would be a pass for me. I would not buy it. I would not really recommend this one. There are probably better ones that you can find at Whole Foods if need be. So sorry, I do love their cacao powder though. Next up, we have Cymbiotika. I've been really excited about this one because they sell a lot of supplements that I feel like are known for their quality more than anything. A lot of liposomal vitamins and a lot of friends of mine purchase from them. I have yet to try anything from them, but they recently launched a matcha. It does claim to be ceremonial grade and it's organic also, which doesn't necessarily mean anything as far as quality goes. The color though looks pretty freaking incredible. As soon as we started whisking this, I got excited because it was so much better than what I expected, but I was kind of expecting more of like a health supplement vibe versus like quality on matcha emphasis. The price for this is $44, and this is the smaller amount, I believe, because I think they also have a tin, and it comes out to $147 per gram. One thing I think it's really interesting about this one is that they locate their matcha, or they source their matcha from Uji and Kagoshima, so this is not a single cultivar, and that just means that they're sourcing their matcha from multiple sources and then blending it together, if that makes sense, which a lot of matcha brands do actually, and doesn't necessarily mean it's not good. Let's try it on its own. Ooh. I'm getting like a headache. Why are all the matchas today so bitter? This is pretty freaking bitter. Wow, my mouth feels like attacked. Holy moly. The interesting thing I think that we're learning today is that even though the color looks good, it doesn't necessarily mean the matcha tastes good. It's just one thing to look out for, but wow, this is... Can you try this? Yeah. This one, I'm sure the quality is there. I just think that the flavor is super bitter. It's not a smooth drinking experience. It doesn't feel good in the mouth. And I would say this is definitely not one that you'd want to drink solo or like Americano because it's so incredibly bitter. Let's try it with some milk though and see what we got. I just feel very lied to because I'm not gonna lie, a lot of influencers I know have been posting about this matcha being like the best thing ever. And so I was like, I gotta try it. This looks like a beautiful matcha. It really does. The color is stunning, but again, color is not everything. It's just one indicator. And I think that's especially true with blends like this. So much better with milk. Much, 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 much better. Okay, with milk, I could drink this, but the thing about matcha is I feel like it should taste good on its own first as well. And honestly, this is like the type of drink where I'd want to add sweetener, and I usually don't to my matcha just because it's not that enjoyable. Here's my thing. If you're gonna buy one that's $44, there's much, much better out there for your money. This is gonna be a no for me. It's expensive and it doesn't taste good. Would I buy it again? No, I would not. Would I drink it again? If I had to, with like a lot of maple syrup added. Goodbye. I just thought that now would be a good time to mention that I do not do partnerships with matcha brands. I've been reached out to by so many different brands to try to get me to review their matcha or promote their matcha. I don't, because I think it just like ruins the integrity of like these matcha reviews. The only brand I have ever worked with, and it's only been in affiliate capacity after years of being a customer, is Ippodo. And I know that you guys have tried it and loved it, but I've been seeing this Cymbiotika matcha ad everywhere from people who I've never seen drinking matcha before, and I'm disappointed. So just letting you know, that can never be me. Next up, we have Kramoda matcha. This one was highly requested because I believe that the brand has recently launched their matcha as of like a couple months ago. And I will out myself as a Zayn and Heath fan. I listened to the podcast. I actually did know that they were launching this and I meant to try it anyway. I didn't buy the kit because I already have all the tools, but I really appreciate that they sell those things because I think it's something that people need to start doing more. A lot of people don't realize that to make matcha, you need some of the basic tools. It would be like buying coffee grounds without having like an espresso machine or something like that. And then they expect the matcha to taste good. But the color looks pretty decent. It's not the most vibrant green, but it is pretty decent. So the price for this is $23, and then it comes down to 77 cents per gram. Comes in a pretty standard tin. I really appreciate that they have some directions on the tin to kind of let you know how to make the matcha. And it does claim to be a ceremonial grade matcha, certified organic. We'll keep that in mind. Let's give it a sniff. Based on the smell, I feel like there's a possibility that it might lean a little bit bitter. It's not bad compared to everything we've had today, but it is very astringent in flavor, and it does have that kind of sharp bitterness that a lot of matcha brands do have. I'm assuming that they white labeled their matcha, so who knows where it's being sourced from, but it is from Japan. I think it is actually pretty bitter. One thing I will have to say about this one is that because I listened to their podcast, I've heard them speak very highly of the matcha. And of course, I was really excited. And they said that it was better than any matcha that they had had on their recent trip to Japan. With that in mind, I don't think it's all that, but it's definitely not terrible. I just thought it was a little bit random that they launched a matcha to begin with. And knowing that, it's not bad at all. Like I've seen brands launch matcha where it's like so terrible. And this isn't. It's just probably not one that I'd want to buy again just because it's got that really harsh, bitter aftertaste, especially if you're drinking this Americano. I think it would be pretty rough. But let's give it a shot with the milk. Color though, really not bad. I would give it like an 8 out of 10 for color. And smoothness, it's not gritty, so I appreciate that too. With the milk added, it definitely lightens up a little bit, but you can tell that it has a slightly yellow hue to it versus a bold green. Much better with the milk. Yeah, actually, the bitterness goes away with milk, but as you guys know, I feel like the sign of a good matcha is that it's enjoyable on its own too. So I'd say this is probably a good one for like mixed drinks if you like to add simple syrup or maple syrup or whatever it is to your matcha. Maybe add a little bit of cinnamon or turn it into like a fruity drink. I think it'd be pretty good. But Americano, this is not one that I would personally like to drink because it is pretty bitter. I'm also wondering if like because they're such coffee fans, they're used to something pretty bitter maybe. What I'll say is it's not great, but it's not bad at all. I would drink this if I had to. Probably wouldn't buy it again, but I would have no problem using this for like recipes and using it up. There's room for improvement, but it's not bad at all. Last, but certainly not least, today we are trying Rocky's Matcha. And this is a single cultivar grade of matcha, which means that all of the leaves to make this matcha powder are sourced from one harvest. So the same farm, same harvest, same season. So it's really, really nicely sourced. And that's something that I look for. Of course, that means the price goes up a little bit more, but it's quality and not something that you see a lot of other brands featuring because most brands don't do it. They just kind of white label and farms will pool their matcha resources together to create enough for a powder. But the packaging on this one is really unique. It's different. And I feel like this brand kind of popped out of nowhere. I first tried it when I went to Community Goods, which is a cafe here in LA. And I was pretty impressed by the matcha. And I know that they were serving Rocky's Matcha. And at the time, their social media didn't really have many posts. So I wonder if it was launched fairly recently. I don't really know. But I do need to disclaim that the founder of Rocky's Matcha, Rocky, sent me this matcha. And I'm okay with that because I have tried it before at the cafe and I was a fan. So little disclaimer, I have tried this one before, but at the cafe, I did wish that they had added a little bit more matcha to it. Like it was kind of light in flavor. So making it at home was a much better experience. This is the best color that we've seen all day today. We really saved the best for last. It's super, super vibrant. I hope that shows on camera. It's got a smell. It's very, very fragrant, which I love. Super smooth. This one is actually very unique because it's very umami in flavor. So sometimes people will say that things taste a little bit like seaweed. That is a flavor profile that is unique to specific types of matcha based on like harvest and region that you grow it in. It's not for everybody, but it's actually really nice because it's not too strong with this matcha. No bitterness, honestly. So smooth. And it just tastes good on its own, which is always a great sign. This one is pricier. I believe this one is $44. And my only piece of constructive criticism would be that the tin I felt like wasn't all the way full when I emptied the bag in there. Could have been on my part because I'm working with a wonky eye right now, but I just felt like I wish there was more, especially because of how much I liked it. So you get 20 grams, $44, which comes down to $2.40 per gram. So this is the most expensive matcha that we're trying today, but it's also the best tasting. So I think it comes back to that idea that you really get what you pay for when it comes to matcha. And then let's try it with some milk. I mean, this color, she's so beautiful. Right, let's try. Yeah, this is my ideal matcha latte. I would buy it again. It's definitely on the pricier side, but again, you're paying for the single cultivar. You're paying for high quality, that rich umami flavor, no bitterness. And I love to support Asian-owned matcha businesses. I don't know if Rocky is Japanese. I think his last name is Shu, but I always prefer somebody who's like very respectful of the culture and like is Asian at least. A lot of Asian people do grow up drinking matcha, even if you're not Japanese. What is there to say? I really like it. It's smooth. It tastes good. I guess my only thing that I would say would be that if you're not a fan of the umami flavor profile, this one would not be for you because it does have a hint of that. But I think it lends itself nicely to a latte because it cuts through the milk and you actually taste it, like the presence is there. So very good. If you want to try it without buying a whole tin, maybe head over to Community Goods because I know that they make their lattes using this matcha. It's really good. If You guys can see, I hope it shows on camera, this color is incredible compared to like this, which is Navita's. Funny enough though, the Cymbiotika, which was more expensive, was not one that I liked. I preferred the Itoen over the Cymbiotika one, even though it was cheaper, even though it's not ceremonial grade, just like the drinkability was so much better. Then the Kramoda one was not bad with milk. I just probably wouldn't drink it on its own. And then at the top we have Rockies, which truly is the best. But interesting how the two most expensive ones, you have one in second place for being the worst and Rockies up here. So it's not always about price. It's not always about color. Honestly, you kind of just have to like try things and figure it out for yourself. And again, everybody's taste preferences are different, but I could tell you this one is not it. That's the roundup for today. All right guys, that is it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. As I mentioned, I have the free matcha guide in the description box below, so check that out if you want to. And as always, the most important thing about a matcha powder is that you enjoy it. So please don't take any offense if there's a matcha that we talked about today that I wasn't a big fan of. Check out the other episodes and you can follow my matcha TikTok at Matcha Mommy. I'll pop it up on the screen. Leave a comment for some matcha brands that you'd like to see in future videos. I think the next one, we're gonna try to do one for UK and European brands specifically. So if there are some that you've been curious about, please leave them below because I am actually not super familiar with those brands. But we'll see you in another video soon. Bye.